shaken yet standing firm.
I was not built to break.
This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
In answer to his question about the subjects.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman, talk today.
Oh, what a compliment. For that, I thank you.
What is happening now? They are hopeless and hungry.
Now it's time for us to stand up for God or we fall to nothing.
It's time now for Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Listening to the general public, what the public would say.
Good afternoon, Cayman Islands, and welcome to Talk Today. This is Patrick Schmidt and Badir Awe standing in for Sterling Dweeney Banks. We have a very exciting program ahead for you today, and including some interesting and exciting guest speakers to start with. But we'll be right back just after this commercial break.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon once again, Cayman Islands, and welcome back to Talk Today. We'd like to start our show this afternoon by welcoming two representatives from the Prospect Red Bay Community Group who will be telling you a bit about their organization and the exciting things that they are doing and have planned to do. And so without further ado, I'd like firstly to hand over to Ms. Sabrina Turner, who is the chairlady of the group.
Good afternoon, Cayman, and it's a pleasure to be on this side of the mic. And we're hoping to get a lot of information out there and to let our community and residents know that we are hearing your concerns and we're doing our best as a group to move this forward. I've brought along with me today our PR and treasurer, Ms. Karako.
Good afternoon, Cayman. Nice to be here. I'm not a radio person, but I am here. Thank you for having me.
You seem very comfortable to me.
Thank you.
This group would not definitely be possible without our exec, and some are still on a little vacation. And for those residents of the Red Bay Prospect community, the aim of getting the word out there today, and we want to thank Radio Cayman for such short notice giving us this airtime to promote our upcoming meeting that will take place on Monday, September 2nd at the Seafarers Hall. We have had we have these monthly meetings every first Monday of the month, and our aim is to address issues and concerns that are happening within our community. We are a political group. We are an NPO. We got NPO status granted the 1st of November last year. Non-profit organization. And the community group has just evolved into something huge. And we know that technology has played a huge part in that because we have 3 very active WhatsApp groups because the requests in being in the loop continues to come in from residents of the Red Bay and Prospect community. But the mission here today is to get the word out, invite people to come out to our Monday's meeting because we're doing a back-to-school drive, our first back-to-school drive, and we have to say it's with a difference. One will say, well, why now? School is back in. We understand that a lot of organizations did back-to-school drives just the past couple days ago, literally. But as a community, we are doing ours more strategically. we're imploring on our residents who always step up to the plate to come out and donate school supplies. We're not only talking about books and rulers and markers, that sort of stuff. We are extending it now to socks, sneakers, undershirts, and whatever we actually collect. We will split equally amongst the two schools that are in our communities group catchment area, which is Red Bay and Prospect. We want to thank some of the contributors already who have contributed. It's Miss Tracy, the lady that gave the books. Miss France,
Miss Kim France.
Yes, Miss Kim France. She has given some school supplies. We've gotten $100 cash donation from Country, a very dedicated member of our community. Whenever we need backhoe services, Mr. Country is right there. He just needs to hear that the community group is doing something in Country's there. He came to the house and he brought his donation, monetary donation. Mr. Benny given $25, and the pledges are still coming in, and we're imploring people, if they can't reach any of the executive members, that they can actually deliver their donations to the Seafarers Hall any weekday from let's say 7, 8 o'clock to around 3 o'clock. There's a box there, but you can also bring them on Monday evening or reach out to us.
And how can they reach you or anyone on the executive?
Yes, well, everybody has contact with us through the WhatsApp group, or they can WhatsApp 922-5276.
Or you can also email us at prospectcommunity345@gmail.com or reach out to us through our Facebook page.
Excellent. Well, it certainly sounds like you have a very cohesive, very active group, and I've heard you speak of it before, actually. When I'm on the other side, and you were sitting in the spot, it's very topical as well that you should be here now at this particular time, not just because of the restart of the school year, but also because there's been so much discussion about getting our communities to work together, and of course a great deal of discussion as well about how do you bring that about? How do you get people interested in actually being participatory in the process? So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about how that works for you.
You want to tell them how it got started in the first place and then how we got where we are?
Well, yeah, a few of us got burglarized, me and my neighbor, and we kind of just had enough, and it came about from a quick little meeting with several people in the community, and we all started a WhatsApp group. We actually joined an accompanying WhatsApp group, and then from there it just continued to grow. After the WhatsApp group got started and we implemented a couple policies and, proof of ID that you live in the community, and agreeing that information that is shared in the group is for our community only, not necessarily to share with the outer skirts of the community, of the island. It just got bigger, and from there crime actually decreased. We were able to tackle burglaries. The burglaries in our area usually happen around summers, so that has decreased, thank goodness. We have a great relationship with RCIPS, and they're on the groups as well. We have our MLAs, elected members, and other members that live in the area on the group as well. So we actually get quite fast action. We have DEH in the group as well. So if we have any garbage issues,
he lives in the community.
Yeah, he lives in the community as well.
That helps.
So we have a lot of resources, and it's just to get that communication open and going. So the communication is strictly about the community, about what is needed. There's no chain letters, we don't tolerate no photos, less. It's great to be nice and share those little messages of hopes and dreams, but this not a format for
exactly.
Yeah, we've responded to fires, we've responded to accidents, we've responded to water lines in the community going out and someone needing water. So a few of us took water over to make sure that they had enough because they had a small child. We responded to canal issues.
And that is one of the big topics at the meeting. So segue into that. I think bigger issues is that people, We have heard the complaints and the cry of our community, and I think what we need people to understand is that the Red Bay Prospect Community Group is pretty much steered by the people and the residents of that immediate community.
Right.
We are blessed, based on our catchment area, that we have 2 elected officials. This is where the roles are reversed because they work along with our group, and it comes with a matter of respect and for what each person has to bring to the table, what resources. But bottom line, we would not have achieved and bring our community together in this light to get such a positive response and cohesiveness if it wasn't from everyone in the community respecting each other and what they have to bring to the table. We're not an Alden group. We're not an Austin's group. We are a community group. And that's what we mean by building a community, having that community spirit. And we want this to be infectious and go along to the other communities that have started small groups as well.
Yes.
So, yes, we may appear to be selfish when something is screenshot from our group and given to media houses without our permission. We actually feel as though they've taken something from us because we have a lot of pride in solving issues. And I think now is an excellent opportunity to publicly shout out and give praises to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. In the past 72 hours, we had a theft of a motor vehicle in our area. And we know we have to give credit not only to the quick acting response of our RCIPS and the community alike. That motor vehicle was recovered last night thanks to Miss Pastor Carlin Nyack at the Philadelphia Church on Rosemary Street.
Excellent.
He was able to reach out to the community group, and we then alerted the community beat officer, and we just gave it over to the Royal Cayman Islands Police. We have to shout out PC Donaldson, and that was other. There was what's his name?
PC
Kodak, who were on this for like 24 hours. But what we want to take away from this is that it would not have been possible, we felt, but without social media and what that community chat group done. And we are publicly thanking the police for their cooperation, working with us and other government agencies as well to solve issues and crimes like this.
Sabrina, Carr, thank you so much for that introduction. We have to go to a brief commercial break. We'll be right back.
CUC advises participants in the Green Iguana Culling Program to exercise extreme caution around the CUC's poles and power lines, especially when extracting iguanas from trees or branches that are in close proximity to poles and power lines. Participants should keep all objects such as poles, sticks, or hooks away from any CUC equipment to avoid any electrical contact. For further information, please contact our customer service team at 949-5200 or via email at service@cuc.ky.
Have you signed the Cruise Port referendum petition and still need to verify your signature through the Elections Office verification process? With its extended hours, you can do so today by visiting their headquarters Monday through Thursday from 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Fridays from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. For more information, please visit elections.ky.
RC Fusion featuring Billboard pop hit songs and more from the 70s to the 90s.
RC Fusion.
Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12. RC Fusion.
Yar, brought to you by Pirates Week, the Cayman Islands National Festival, celebrating 42 years of fantasy, history, and fun.
Do you know someone in the Cayman Islands that has made a significant impact to the diving or water sports industry, or an emerging star who is making a difference in the industry today? Nominate them to be recognized as a local honoree during the 2019 International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame. The deadline to submit is known on Friday, August 30th, so send in your nomination today. Visit www.nominatedive.com, complete the nomination form, and help us in the Ministry and Department of Tourism honor our Caymanians in this dynamic industry.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Cayman Islands, and welcome back to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmidt. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Badir Awe, and we're sitting in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. We have the pleasure of being joined by two ladies from the Prospect Red Bay Community Group who are telling us a bit about their organization and how they've gone about making it a very successful organization for their communities. So where we had just left off, where we were discussing things about the school drive in particular, and of course your monthly meetings, and indeed how you're organized and how you've managed to get that community buy-in, which is so significant because it really, truly, in my mind, is representative of real democracy at work, where everybody's participating in the process and helping each other. Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering, I don't mean to take you off track at all, in fact, but you also mentioned that you'd recently been certified. Could you tell us a little bit more about that certification, what exactly that relates to?
Yeah, CERT. That comes behind our name. It's a community emergency response team. We're a group of residents within the area underwent a 12-week training course that was spearheaded by the Red Cross and Hazard Management. After that certification, we have ID and we have authorization to respond to any natural disasters that may actually occur within our area. And from that, we were partaking in a number of challenges, and we have won every challenge thus far. We're proud to say that. We're still the holders of this, and we know that Ms. Zita May and her crew, Westby, and I think, is it Newlands now?
Newlands now, yeah.
They
that's a new
recently
team.
Graduated, so yes.
So we got competition.
Competition, games on. But it's all, it's good sport. It's good spirit, because we have been able, through those winnings, been able to get donation kind sponsorship of Harbour House Marina, a 20-foot container that actually has supplies that we can actually respond accordingly to a natural disaster. So it's more than just the community group per se, because the executive council, which comprises of seven people, Mr. Benny Moore, Miss Cara, Miss Gay Smith, we have Miss Des Ebanks, we have Miss Gina Matthews, and Mr. Mark Rickman. We pretty much have funded this for the past 5 years. Right. And we don't even have a bank account. The community has come out, our sweat, our labor, going out there, competing in these challenges, going through bush. We understand we may actually have to go through swamp for the next challenge. But we have put those funds back into the community. Right. And we're excited to do that. But we're also human beings. And we do get burnt out. Yes. So through this, and I think now is an ideal time to do a public appeal to other residents in the community. If they want to serve on the exec, reach out to us, come out to our Monday's meeting, and come to one of us. We would be more than happy to have them shadow us for a year. We're willing to give of our time, because based on our constitution, come December, we pretty much can't remain in our roles. So it is very important that more persons step up to the plate and come on. We're just not going to leave the group like that, because we're still residing in the community, but have them shadow us. We shadow them, and so that they can take it on moving forward. So there's a good succession plan.
I just wonder, in relation to those meetings, which of course are fundamentally important by all accounts, do you also take advantage of technology in that regard? Are you considering it insofar as people who cannot attend the meeting could participate perhaps online?
Yes, we've done a couple live streams to Facebook, and we've shared the link to our, the people in community that just can't make it to our meetings. So we've done that a couple times. Data is expensive. So
Benny Moore usually backs us up for that.
Yes. Or we'll do a quick synopsis of minutes and then just shoot it back out to the community. But usually the members are very active. The ones that haven't made it, they'll just send us questions in and say, have you spoken? Especially depends on our guest speaker. So they'll send questions in regarding their concerns.
And do you think that this is something that could be, you mentioned a few other community organizations. I don't know how similar they are to yourselves, or how you're organized. Perhaps each one has to make certain tweaks depending on their circumstances.
Right.
But do you think that the model, generally speaking, is something which is transportable to other communities within?
Very easy,
that?
but you have to be active. A lot of people are saying, we want to be like Prospect, Red Bay, or why do they get everything? We get everything, it would appear to you, because our residents are very active and very supportive of our executive. We actually go out many a times and start things. Example, on our community chat yesterday, there's some serious concern with some activities going on in our canals. DEH comes up to concern illegal dumping. We have persons walking around, suspicious activity and that sort of stuff. This group, or exec, have heard the cries of the people. And those people are coming out to our meeting on Monday so that we can get a better sense, get our hands on the pulse of really what's going on. This group has also reached out to various government agencies to have a presence there so that they can educate us as to what we need to do in order to remedy what could be a problem. If there are amendments to certain legislation that has to be amended, if these government agencies confirm their attendance with us, guess what? They will be there. It's one thing of having an executive body speaking to a community of people, hearing their concerns. But to me, it's more impactful when you have the agencies, those people direct who are the specialists, the people who are qualified to act, to give and share that information, other than using us as a messenger. To me, we get more leverage. We don't mind, as an executive community group, being that buffer, giving you that immunity as a civil servant, because we understand it could be a little touchy, because we're not there to throw anybody under the bus. Many a times people lose their cool, tearing down the police, tearing down DEH, tearing down this one and that one, when all it lacks is a knowledge of how to start the process. So we have invited the various government agencies, border control, planning, environmental health, to this Monday's meeting. We will update our residents of their confirmation or attendance, but we still invite the people to come out and voice their concern, because there's power in numbers. Because if we have to do a paper to the various ministry to get this problem done, we are willing to do so.
So its persistence is a large part of the success.
And it has to be somebody taking the risk. It has to be risk takers. These are your risk takers. The exec are the risk takers.
And the good thing is we've gotten to a point with our community members that they know we're in the background and we're doing a million things. They mightn't hear us every day, but they're able to take the conversation, they're able to move and solve their own problems rather than us hold their hand through everything. They're able to bring the solutions, get it done, contact that person, let us know what's going on, versus us having to do everything.
And I recognize that obviously it's organizations are always growing, always evolving, to hopefully make themselves even better and more efficient. How do you deal with the issue of questions of privacy? When it comes to, for example, people who are facing certain issues and they want to be able to get assistance, and they want to reach out, but they're not quite sure about whether they should.
Well, so far, I think we have no issues with that, because our community has become such close-knit that you would be floored as to how much private messages myself, Ms. Carr, and other members of our Executive Council have actually received, and we have assisted the best way we can. It is rather delicate. Our community beat officer as well is a key asset to us, because there's some persons that are in need, that it's through that collaboration that those things are brought to the forefront with us. And we're not there to bring anyone down in any way or to make you feel any way. And not that everything is actually spat out on our community chat. No, because we do respect people's privacy, and there are laws that are governing that now. So we too are acting quite cautiously with data being collected and all that sort of stuff. Because one of the responsibilities we had as emergency responders for Inner CERT, is that we had to go around and assess our community, looking at vulnerabilities and capacity assessment. We had to be very careful with where that data is kept, how it's stored. But this was key information for us to gather in order to know how to respond accordingly in the event. Like we had to know where the elderly persons were, low-lying areas, which we all know, Prospect, Marina Drive, we always had flooding issues. Normal rain and we're flooded. They're puddles. Development changes that. The flow of water. They're serious issues. But people with medical conditions, that's getting a little personal. We've done door-to-door, getting some of this information, and the respect that the members of the community have had or has for us based on how we have shown operating just this WhatsApp system. Just how we've organized Christmas get-togethers. Just how we've organized working with the Seventh-day Adventist Pathfinders and doing cleanup initiatives. Mr. Schmidt, the listening and viewing audience, we had no problems getting that information.
And
so again, it's the trust.
And going back to the WhatsApp system again, for them to join our WhatsApp group, we have an online form where we collect this data as well as their information, their phone number and stuff. It's not shared. I've made sure that it's stated that this is only for our use only. But it also states if you have an elderly, if you have young children, if you have, let us know. And if there is an emergency, those are the people that we will respond to first.
But this sounds like such a success story, such a strong organization, the scope and the breadth of what you've done, education, social, crime, disaster response. I mean,
bringing that old Cayman back.
Do you have a specific mission, a specific focus? Or, like, what is, in your constitution?
Keeping it together. No. It's just helping your neighbor and knowing your neighbor.
Yeah, no.
There's no glitz and glamour. It's a bare bones. We just did the basic. Because why we have been so successful is because of the response of the people.
That's what it is.
It is the people. It's very simple. They're not... We all have our own issues, and with what's going on globally, financially, we're all stretched for cash. We come across hard times. Everyone is feeling it. But knowing that I know some of my residents, I know them so well that I will call them at random, just based on certain conversations that are in the chat, and you'll be surprised how I will diffuse a situation. How are you, beautiful? Good morning, sunshine. And it's amazing. But that's knowing your neighbor.
Sure.
And that is what this whole group and building these relationships are all about. And it doesn't matter if you're a permanent resident. It doesn't matter if you're from Dubai. It doesn't matter if you're born, bred Caymanian. Miss Lucille, Miss Luke Lloyd, who are the grassroots pioneers of that area. She is passionate about beach access. She's passionate about keeping our community together. And that's what by this group is a vehicle to address all of those issues with the blessing and assistance of our elected officials.
So it sounds like two of the lessons that come across, at least to me, for other communities that might want to emulate or do something similar, is that communication is fundamental, and mutual respect, as well as saying what you mean and meaning what you say.
Yes, correct. It's hard to live up to that because I'm quite sure understanding the dynamics and the culture of our people when it comes to politics. Everyone links it to politics. And it was a hard sell for us to say we are a neutral group. We're apolitical. Because then they see Mr. Alden coming to our meetings. They see Mr. Austin. Why not? The people elected them.
Absolutely.
We have to put them on the chat.
Sabrina, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. We have to go to commercial break. This is a very interesting conversation, but we'll be right back.
Sure.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Did you know that once properly sanitized, some tinned food items may still be safe for consumption after coming in contact with floodwater? In order to properly sanitize these tins, always remove labels and then wash tins in a strong detergent solution using a brush to get rid of excess impurities. Tins must then be immersed in a solution made of 2 tablespoons of chlorine bleach per gallon of water for 10 minutes. Ensure that containers are air dried before opening. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit the DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to the listening audience out there in Radio Cayman and all our various fans. I'd like to welcome also our guests once again from Prospect Red Bay Community Group, who are telling us about the successes of their group since its inception. And we are going to hear a little bit more about their plans for the near future. So just without any further ado, I'll hand back to the ladies who are here with us.
Yes, hi. It's a pleasure to be here. And again, we want to publicly invite all residents of the Red Bay and Prospect community to our Monday's meeting. We're doing a back-to-school drive, and we have to add with a difference because if you have school bags, pencils, rubbers, that sort of stuff, that's fine. But we're actually doing it, be more strategic, because we are also asking for persons to donate marinas, undershirts, socks, if they have sneakers for primary school children. We're also accepting those as well. And we want persons to understand that once everything is collected, we will be splitting it equally, and we will be personally distributing them or giving a presentation to the Red Bay School and to the Prospect School, because we feel those teachers that are working directly with those kids, without divulging any information, they would see the needs of those pupils that are coming there every day to be able to distribute.
Sure.
People are coming with monetary donations, and we will also use that to buy additional stuff or lunch tickets.
Right. Yeah, and I want to add to that list as well. We're also looking for Lysol, Germex.
Yes.
Anything that'll help keep that classroom clean, germ-free, anything like that. Paper towel, that's teacher's best friend. You know, we're taking any kind of supplies like that as well.
So talk to us about the relationship with the schools then. Like how that works.
Well, we actually have a good relationship with Red Bay Primary. We rejuvenized their library a couple years ago, 2 years ago. So we went in, we cleaned it up, we painted it with yeah, it was really good. So because at that time,
do everything though, seriously.
At that time they didn't have a working library, and they actually opened it up so that we can use it. And I was hoping to bring in Small Business Association for training. Right. So members in our community that might need that little IT training or that little resume training would be able to come in. We haven't started that program yet, but it should come shortly.
So be making use of the facility at night time.
Yes, exactly. Because there's security there 24/7.
Yes.
So they just need to open it up to the library, open up the library to us, and then we use that facility.
And what kind of numbers are we talking about in terms of the 2 schools that are within your catchment area?
Oh my goodness!
Well, those numbers are climbing. I don't even.
Yeah, I think Red Bay might be 400,
if not a little bit more, because they had to pretty much say we're done, we're over for this school season. It continues to grow, but so does our community.
Of course.
And unless we're really monitoring where these kids are really living, then we're going to have that issue. But with population growth, whether or not we want it or not, maybe in the future this is something that we'll all have to address.
And this is my personal opinion. I know we have a lot of house games going on, and that's bringing in a lot of people and a lot of people investing in that area. Maybe the developers might want to say, hey, let's throw up a school.
Yeah.
just a thought.
Yeah.
And in that regard, when you talk about infrastructure generally, what are your thoughts about the traffic situation?
Oh, that's bigger than us, outside our remit. But let me say that our elected officials did address our community in a public meeting for all of the roadworks that are in plan for the area. It's going to get a little bit more bumpy before it gets better. A first phase of that started with the placing that stoplight right there by Hurley's Roundabout in Scotiabank, which people are like, oh my God, what is this? And then I think after a while it caught on. Now, whether we need that at another entry to that roundabout, I think it's a work in progress. But there are, based on what was presented to the community, there are some serious roadworks that are going to happen that will make it a much more easier. But, there's always a teething phase. It's going to get a little bit worse than before it gets better. So we are encouraging persons to really try to leave home a little earlier. Carpooling, or just outright be cautious. Don't leave home at 8 to get there for 8. It's not going to work.
Absolutely.
So you did so much as an unofficial organization, right? Why then have you decided to become official as a not-for-profit? Would you have a larger scope of action? I mean, because it's almost like the question is, could that be a hindrance?
Not necessarily.
So what's the reason? Let's hear.
Well, the fact is we have so many people to service. It's only 7-8 of us, and we can't keep on doing it out of pocket. So we're in the process of opening up bank accounts. We're looking for sponsorships. We're looking for donations, and we need to do that in a legal way, in a legal manner. And then we also need to report back to DCI in regards to our books and stuff. So it actually gives us more,
autonomy and being legal on the legal side. But we've heard a lot about district councils. We must realize Ms. Cara Cohere is a civil servant. Being an NPO, that gives them immunity because we're a non-for-profit organization that is doing the same works. So where district councils is in the Constitution, we've got something that's working.
And but if government wants to donate that money to us,
by all means, we're welcome. We have proven that we can do it. By no way shooting down district councils at all. No. Whatever works for those communities. And just how we have made it work in our community, we have spoken to other communities who may want to emulate what we've done, but not so sure how to get it off the ground. Many a times we have had forums like this. We have publicly stated we have no trouble coming in to get you started. But what you need to understand is that the dynamics of our people in Red Bay and Prospect may not be the same dynamics of your community. Absolutely. So you have to, don't look at the numbers. Don't look at what we've accomplished over 6 going into 7 years if you're just starting now. We started off on a bad note because they were burglarized. What you're looking at now is 7 years of evolution. You got to start somewhere, even if it's with 2 or 3 people. And I want to encourage communities, yes, use us as that model to go forward. But we're also here to help. Eventually, it will catch on, and remember, we're one Cayman.
Absolutely, and there's probably a lot of scope for the community councils per se, as defined, and this type of organization being a very similar thing.
Yes.
At the end of the day, like you said, you were obliged to in any case register due to the new requirements, international requirements.
Yes.
And so, I mean, more and more there's sort of a merger of the need as well as the prerequisites. But I certainly understand your point about the necessity of each community adjusting per its particular...
You have to know your people.
You
have, and those people have to share that sentiment. We're just blessed to have a community that share the same sentiment, and we're double blessed to have an exec that shares the same vision, that are willing to put herself on the front line for good or bad, because it has gone, oh, they're not doing anything, or they have a hidden agenda, to wow, they're the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, for the Christmas party that we pulled off with nothing, and our community stepped up to the plate 2 years in a row that we have food coming out the wazoo, which again this year is going to be even bigger because we're hoping to have it in a location that is going to be ours. More to come on that.
Stay tuned.
Yes. So
You have an extended license, of course.
Yes, well, more than that. Well, I'll see why not. But if you attended that party last year, I think now is a good time too. Mm-hmm. The kids were so excited for attending that party because many families came out. It was an excellent time despite us competing with other organizations that were having their Christmas party. But the kids that were there wanted to participate. Mm-hmm. And this year, we are deciding to allow the kids to showcase their talent. Mm-hmm. So start a little bit earlier so that the kids will take over the stage. And as the evening progresses, then it becomes everybody's parties. But it's party, but you're not leaving those children out. So anyone with talent who want to sing, dance, poetry, reach out to us again through our social media pages, WhatsApp. We will be doing more leading up to that and get those pots ready because we're going to be doing the potluck style.
Excellent.
To come out.
Can I just ask you, do you find that there's any particular grouping within your communities that are a little bit less involved for whatever reason or less excited about being a part of the group, or is that not the case?
Every walks of life coming.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Every walks of life. And it'll be from the buses that go across, they'll empty and they'll come out to see what's going on. And they'll get a plate of food. Yeah. And we have no problem with that.
Right. We had a gentleman last year who was passing across, and let me tell you something. He saw all the ladies there working. Yeah. That man stayed with us until after 2.
And
packed away those chairs because he was blown away at the community spirit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Once you stepped on the grounds of the Seafarers Hall, it was something that was magical. We had fireworks that was contributed by Mr.
Band.
We had a live band that was donated by the premier. Yeah. I mean, everyone is like, wow. And that was that community, that bond, the response that we got, I don't see that nowhere else. But we don't mind sharing it.
No, not at all.
Excellent.
Because it'll be the walker bite, like I said, that'll come in, and they'll actually that's the opportunity for us too to see, hey, what's going on? Let's to help you out, put you to the, if you need to go needs assessment unit, we'll go there with you. Yeah. We'll figure it out with you
with respect and dignity. That's the key.
And
we
privacy.
Don't look down. We do not look down at you because you may have less or whatever. That we don't have no boundaries when it comes to that. If you're in need. We are there to help you. What we want to create, though, with this group is a dependent society.
No.
Yeah, that's always
we help each other. Yes. That's what we don't want to create.
Well, Ms. Cara and also Ms. Sabrina, would like to thank you very much for coming out today and telling us about your organization. We'd like to encourage you to continue to do the great works that you're doing.
Thank you.
Certainly, I've learned a lot. Before we break for the news, which we have to do very shortly, I'd just like to give you an opportunity for any last words that you'd like to leave with the listening audience.
Go ahead.
I want to invite again, I can't hammer this home anymore, to come out to our Monday's meeting, 7 p.m. at the Seafarers Hall. We have heard your complaints, and we definitely want to address those. We are going to continue to plow on and reach the government agencies, hoping to get a confirmation. Please keep it locked to your social media outlets. We will give you updates on that. But we want to encourage everyone to come out. We will be paying appreciation and to our RCIPS and those persons that were involved in making a difference in our community. I'll also like to give a plug to the Philadelphia Church, who is starting a series of meetings from September 1st. It's called Follow Me Series. Their church is located on 42 Rosemary Street, and that's off Marina Drive. That's Pastor Carlin Nyack. So that's from the 1st to the 7th. We also have excellent things in store for for next year, 2020. That's going to be a collaborative effort with that organization as well. But again, we want to thank the Red Bay Prospect community, our elected officials, for their continued support. We could not do this without you. And personally, I'd like to thank the exec, because it's not a me, it's a we. And we, in this case, is everyone.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Cara, you got anything else?
That's it. She did a fabulous job. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much for being here. It's been our pleasure.
Thank you.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The premier says that the government is, quote, very concerned about the loss of Caymanian jobs with the closure of the TV station Cayman 27. Government believes that a TV station that produces and broadcasts local programs is, quote, a critical piece of Cayman's information infrastructure. And he says government will be exploring ways to fill the void created. Next week could be MP's, quote, only opportunity to challenge a no-deal Brexit, according to ex-minister David Gauck. This follows the Prime Minister's decision to suspend Parliament in September and October. The move sparked criticism from those who argue Boris Johnson is trying to prevent MPs from blocking a no-deal Brexit. And a former commander in the FARC rebel group in Colombia, Ivan Marquez, has called on his followers to take up arms less than 3 years after the rebels signed a peace agreement with the government. Marquez appeared in a video and announced that a, quote, new phase of the armed struggle was beginning. He was one of the main negotiators of the 2016 peace deal. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
This is JJ the Iceman. This is JJ the Iceman.
This is where the ride begins. A magical musical journey.
Weeknights on Radio Cayman, 8 to 10. Music on Express. Friday nights, 8 to midnight.
Music Express. Radio Cayman's Music Express is brought to you by Taster's Choice, home of the $3 meal special.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the listening audience out there in Radio Land. My name is Patrick Schmidt, and I have here with me my co-host Badir Awe. We're signing in for Sterling Dween. I'd just like to inform you that we're now moving to our open line segment, and so we're inviting the listening audience to call in and express their opinions on whatever's on your mind today. By way of reminder, you can reach us directly by calling 949-8037. Alternatively, toll-free, courtesy of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. You can also send us a WhatsApp message on 925-3261 or email us on talktoday@candw.ky. And with all that having been said, I'd like to invite my co-host. He has a few issues that he'd like to bring to our attention.
Yeah, but definitely give us a call. Contact us. That's what we're here for. Express yourself. You have the details there, and we'd love to hear from you. And we're open to talk about anything. One thing that I'm interested in, obviously, is the Cayman 27 issue that happened yesterday, that announcement that they're no longer going to be operating. What are your sort of initial thoughts when you heard that?
To be quite honest, buddy, I don't feel like I know enough about it. I did hear it, of course, but I also didn't have an opportunity to really look into it in any great detail. So perhaps if you could... However, obviously, there's always that risk that by decreasing the amount of media houses that are available to the general public for access to information, especially accurate and poignant information, we are losing an important aspect of that entire structure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's just a general thought on the matter. But perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about your particular knowledge on that issue.
Well, I mean, I think that's the general concern for most people, is that this cultural medium of local content is, being wiped away after 27 years. It's not an easy solution because economically, as Hurley stated, the Cayman 27 product couldn't generate a profit for over those 27 years to justify staying in existence. So, a lot of people will say, oh, well, government got to keep this going. Government's got to buy it. At the end of the day, we need to know the numbers, right? How much does it cost to keep Cayman 27 running? And is that worthwhile for government to take over? These are questions, those are questions we don't know the answers to, but those are things that we need to think about. It costs a lot of money to produce videos.
Right.
And it's a lot of labor and a lot of work. And it hasn't been able in the last 27 years to generate any profit. And, we don't know what the solution is. Right. We just know that we're missing this local content, right? And that you could even extend the question further. I mean, Cayman 27 is one medium that provides local content, but there are other production companies in the Cayman Islands that also provides local content. There's lots of other channels besides Cayman 27, local channels on...
There's government TV.
On Logic, there's government TV. So then the question is, it's not just Cayman 27, but what about those other production companies who are probably experiencing the same pains as Cayman 27, not really being able to generate a profit in this environment? So who, do you help them as well? Like, what is the main purpose? What is the main focus? What, this local content that we want to keep seeing? So, yeah, it was a little bit, not really of a shocker. I mean, Hurley's has been telling us for a while now that, look, Cayman 27 are working. It's just been years they've been saying this. So some people are shocked, but the writing was on the wall. And Hurley's, did admit that with Cayman 27. So, now it's reached to where it's reached. Of course, the issue has also been the regulation. Right? I think when the first cable provider came to Cayman, the requirement was that they must provide local content. And that's why Cayman 27 started, right? And then as Hurley's has been saying over the last few years, well, that's not actually being enforced. There are other cable providers that are not providing local content. And, so it's a regulation issue as well. And yeah, it's unfortunate. It's complex and not really sure what the solution is. But there is a need for local content.
How do you, I mean, the thing is that obviously they're a private entity. And it's difficult to assess what the actual costs are unless, of course, they come forward and say these are the costs, or at least to the relevant parties that may be, for example, the Cayman Islands government, which inevitably in a small community, whether it's Cayman Islands or elsewhere, it's quite often the case that the government has to step up to the plate and effectively utilize the people's money to ensure that the people get the service that they wish for the people to have and the people wish to have. Radio Cayman, I'm sure from its inception was not necessarily profitable. I wouldn't even venture a guess because I simply do not know the numbers, but I'm sure it's not cheap to maintain, and yet nevertheless they are truly full service around the clock best radio station, and no bias there, of course, So, and there are other examples of entities that have been where government has stepped up to the plate. Cayman Airways is a continuous, ongoing, somewhat controversial at times discussion topic, but yet, by and large, it would appear that the people of the Cayman Islands want to see the continuation of things Caymanian, such as Radio Cayman and Cayman Airways. And so I don't know that the government TV will serve as a replacement, so to speak, but certainly it bears looking at with a very close magnifying glass and to ensure that we don't lose out on what we have now. In fact, that we continue to improve.
Yeah.
And I should actually also take the opportunity to say the same could be said of the various newspapers that have been started and then subsequently had to close. The only one that's been consistently open, we have, of course, a weekly or bi-weekly at the moment, the Caymanian Times. And then, of course, the Cayman Compass, which is the longest. And of course, we have an online facility now as well. CNS, and so you know the dissemination of information is certainly becoming, with the use of technology, more feasible in terms of the cost factor, and that's always a good thing. But the traditional forms of that dissemination of information are still fundamentally necessary, I think.
Yes. So if you have any opinions, please call us in. Please call us at 949-8037 or WhatsApp us at 925-3261. We won't see your name, so we'll just see your picture in the WhatsApp, so you can just change your picture if you want to do that. So don't be afraid. You know, this is a topic everyone was sharing Facebook posts about Cayman 27. It is an issue, so if you have a point that you think is pretty incisive that we have not touched on, please call us. Let us know what's going on.
Since we have a couple of minutes remaining just before we go to the next commercial break, I'd like to take the opportunity just to fill in the listening audience on some information that has been asked of us over the last few days that we have now received answers to. So it won't take very long, but very, very poignant, I think. Firstly, in relation to the runway extension at Owen Roberts International Airport, we have been given a specific answer. The answer is that the extension is 866 feet exactly, or 264 meters, depending on what system you want to use. It will be entirely to the west, that is towards Georgetown, and it is for that reason principally that you have planes being able to use that extended, what will be an extended area for takeoff, but not for landing, because obviously there are particular and stringent regulations about where you can descend and how quickly and at what level you can be when you're passing things like the hospital and so on, which are almost in a direct flight path for Owen Roberts International.
So what are some routes that we will be able to gain from this extension? Do you know?
I'm not sure of that yet, really, because these are still early days. But certainly, it has been a long-standing problem for us in terms of being able to have long-haul routes. The problem, of course, that springs, or the question that springs to mind immediately, is that if you are talking about having a long-haul route and you can't bring the people here, but you can certainly take them away, then it sort of doesn't seem to necessarily make sense in that context, unless you're talking about catering to the local population for some of the longer haul possibilities. The other thing that I just quickly touch on, and then of course we can always revisit any of these topics depending on what our listening audience want to hear about. But we have had a number of calls regarding Hogstye Bay. We have had the acting port director, I believe is the correct term, come back to us and tell us specifically that Hogstye Bay is the area that basically is between the north and south terminal that were being used prior to the Royal Watla terminal, but does not include that area north and northwest of what we consider to be Hogstye Bay. So the caller, one of the main callers, was correct in his assessment of the actual area. And
you mean their point being that there won't be any dredging in that Hogstye area, but outside of it there will be.
That is correct. That's my understanding. And then the other things, of course, we can come back to after our break. But there are, of course, a number of emerging issues, even things happening overnight in relation to the ongoing issues concerning Brexit and the actions of the British Parliament and so on. So I think I'm being told that it's a time we have to break for our commercials. But we certainly will be looking forward to hearing from you as soon as we come back from our commercial break.
Each weekday, Monday through Friday, Miracle Brokers is the proud sponsor of Radio Cayman's Bulletin Board. For all your moving needs, call the professionals at Miracle Brokers, 949-5989 or 916-0355. For a free estimate, they take the hassle out of moving. Miracle Brokers.
Now located at 140 Kingbird Drive in the North Sound. Parents, do you know what time it is?
It's the most wonderful time
it's not Christmas time, but school is nearly back in session. Is your child ready for the school year? Stop by Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village and pick up all of your child's stationery supplies. With 30% off selected items, you won't need to break the bank to get your little one prepared for the school year. You have enough to worry about. Make back to school a breeze with Savannah Pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, or call 946-3336.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Turning to international news.
Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Cayman Islands. This is Patrick Schmidt here. I'm here with my co-host Badir Awe, and we would like to remind you, first of all, that we are on open line now, and we welcome your calls and comments. However, I also have been asked to extend a very special happy birthday greetings to Mr. Rayburn Ebanks, who I understand is turning 80 years old today. So happy birthday, Mr. Rayburn. And we're wishing you a very, very happy birthday with many happy returns. With that said, I understand that we also have a WhatsApp voice note that we're about to play for you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I want to put in a piece on the topic that you all started off with about Cayman 27. Let me say this, and I'm speaking for a lot of people on the island, not only elderly, retired Caymanian senior citizens or whatever you want to call them, but for even people that live on this island, that Cayman 27 was doing a wonderful job for many years. That is the only thing that some elderly people really look forward to in the afternoon at 6 o'clock. And if you can name me one country where it doesn't have their own television broadcasting station, you said the government channel, but the government channel only speaks mostly on government issues. They speak sometime about other things, but not much. But Cayman 27 goes into the local areas, shows all the pictures. It was a wonderful show, and I think the government should take it and continue with it. If not, I hope Mr. Dart, although many don't like him, but I hope Mr. Dart would step in and take it over and keep it going, because it's a shame. I mean, we in the Cayman Islands, it looked like we want to turn to a communist country. We only protecting certain people in this island is being protected. The wealthy people and the high up people and those that know Mr. So and so and the politicians, the lawyers, the bankers, the accountants. They're the people that is running the Cayman Islands. The elderly people, the real true-born Caymanian people, are going out of the way real fast. We're dying off real fast, and those of us that not dying real fast, we put under so much pressure and so much stress that it won't be long. But I think If you can name me one other country where don't have their own national television station, as I say, local station. Like I said, the Cayman government um, television station, they talk mostly about Parliament. But I think that Cayman 27 should continue and the government should try very hard to continue getting it going. And if not, I'm begging on Mr. Dart. We don't like him, but at least he worries a bit about us. Although he buying the island up, but he's still worrying about us because at least he helps us in many, many ways. A lot of employment is down in Cayman Bay for Caymanians and infrastructure as well. So, Mr. Dart, if government don't take it, please take it over and let Cayman 27 continue. And even if you listen to the radio this morning, the other radio talk show, people from the very brack was calling in and talking about it. So I hope it continues.
Thank you very much for that voice note, sir. And there you have it, the public expression of that individual, but I know other individuals as well, that it is a detrimental loss to not have Cayman 27 broadcasting local content, providing information to a lot of people who maybe don't get out of their house during the day, can't get out of the house during the day, and able to receive the news in the evening. It's a tradition, a 27-year-old tradition that is now lost, and that always hurts a little bit. And the issue is someone has to foot the bill. And Hurley's did for a while, and now they don't want to do that anymore. It's no one likes to lose money, you know what I mean, and especially as a private business. So, what is the solution? What is, what do we expect? Do we expect DART to take it over? I mean, wouldn't they have done that already? I mean, the writing has been on the wall for this channel for a long time. Everyone knows, they haven't been making a profit, haven't been economically sustainable. So, if it didn't happen already from DART, well, I don't know why we would expect it now. But it's a sad issue. A lot of people are upset.
I think that's that would be a very fair statement, and the caller makes some very valid points, of course. I certainly hear what he's saying. I have to say that in some areas of the island, there has traditionally been a bit of a blackout that it was not accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, where I live, there was always a difficulty in actually picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, not absolutely every Caymanian had access to it. That having been said, that does not take away from the fact that many did, and it will be a substantial, or it is a substantial loss to many persons. Like you already pointed out, but there, obviously it's a private entity. The private entity has to act in its best interest. It has to remain profitable, and therefore we certainly can't blame them for taking action that they were effectively forced to take.
Right.
They probably held on to it as long as they possibly could. Whether or not, of course, the government, which is the most likely possibility, if there are any, takes it up, would of course be a decision for them to take, balancing it against the various other responsibilities that they have. But that having been said, I believe that we have a caller on the line.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. You're welcome to talk today.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you and your panel.
Good afternoon.
Something puzzles me. One would assume that although other TV broadcasting companies in the island are broadcasting Cayman 27, they are not paying for it and are obtaining it for free. Now, all the other channels that are foreign that they obtain, obviously they're paying something for it. So why not pay something for the local one? How are these companies going to meet the requirements of the law, including Hurley's? But I understand Hurley's TV is closing, period. But the broadcasting group that broadcasts, a string of channels are required under the law, my understanding is, that to carry a local station. Stopping having Cayman 27 will put every one of them in contravention of the law. So is government going to shut down everybody? Is Ofra going to shut down everybody? To me, it makes no sense. This ensure that government put something in place to show that everybody contributes to maintain what they're using. And, the fact that they're using it and not paying for it, to me, is fraud.
Well, sir, thank you very much for that. I'm not cutting you off, but I would like to interject one thing. And I certainly completely agree that that it is important that it be fair and equitable, and that the company that's providing the work and providing the broadcast is compensated in accordance with the law, as they would have to in order to be able to rebroadcast foreign or overseas news, for example, or other forms of broadcast. So that I agree with you 100% on. What I would say, however, is just please remember that the government is not shutting them down. This is a decision that has been taken by a private company, and so that is the situation, unfortunately, that we're in.
I think he just means.
I'm not saying that the government is shutting them down.
Okay.
I'm saying that somebody's falling off here, because these other companies are rebroadcasting and obviously not contributing towards it or paying for the use of the channel, and they pay for the use of all the other channels they broadcast. So is it just because they're Caymanian why they won't pay them and they can get away with it? It sounds to me like what has been happening all along. And OFREG needs to either bring in something to ensure that they do contribute, or stop using it for free and using that to satisfy their requirement of broadcasting a local station, which now raises the question from Friday night coming as to what are all these different broadcasting companies going to use to satisfy the law that they are broadcasting a local station. And if they're not doing it, is the law going to be enforced? Like so many other laws and things in this country that are just not enforced. I will leave you all to discuss the subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling, sir. Appreciate it. And, the truth is that OFREG has not been enforcing this for years, and that just remains. That is what it is. I think to be a little clear about the broadcasters that broadcast Cayman 27, as far as I know, there's Logic that offers cable, and there's Flow. I'm not sure of any more than those two. And in order for them to operate, they should provide local content. I know Logic has a few local content channels on there. I don't have Flow, so I'm not sure, but I think they do as well. So, it's maybe not so much that they're not paying for the fees as it's that more of the people that tune into the cable broadcasters are not watching the local content. They're watching the HBOs and the Fox and the CNNs or what have you. And so the amount of eyes, even though it's of cultural significance, Cayman 27 a local content, the amount of eyes that actually watch the local content doesn't justify the expense it costs to produce the actual content. So it's a complex issue because it's an economic issue as well. It doesn't work. Video production doesn't seem to work in the Cayman Islands, and it's a cultural issue as well. Unfortunately, because we are missing it. It's a governmental issue as well because OFREG isn't helping. That's for sure. They're not enforcing.
Issue.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate, but it would. I'm interested to see what solutions people might have, what ideas people might have, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of content being produced across the board anyway.
Yes.
The local artists in Cayman produce a lot of videos. I mean, it's on Facebook all the time.
Right.
Whether it's music videos, whether it's just regular little mini interviews and highlighting a specific organization, a specific not-for-profit. The work is being done, and it's how best to sort of channel and focus all of that at looking at expenses, looking at the most cost-effective way to do that.
Which brings us to a connected point, Badir, because in the same way that there came a stage when radio somewhat took over from print media, being sort of the original type of public dissemination of information, and then after radio you had TV coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and then after TV now you have your various and numerous forms of social media.
Mhm.
Do you think that social media and the access to it, the ready access to it from our phones, from our computers, from our laptops, does that take away from some of the otherwise keen viewership that these companies would enjoy?
Yeah, I don't think it helps, but I don't think you can lay the blame at the foot of social media because Cayman 27 was not making a profit for years before social media.
Right.
For decades before social media came along. So it's not really just an issue with social media, but it is a factor, I agree, because you have access to lots of content because of social media. You have Netflix, on your phone. You have HBO, whatever it is, YouTube. I watch a lot of content on YouTube.
Right.
Whatever it is I want to watch, I search for it on YouTube. And so that's time not spent watching local content, right? So it's one of those issues, again, where it seems like you sort of need a commitment to help disseminate the local content that we all want. Like, it's not economically viable, therefore we need the commitment to, despite it not being economically viable, to keep it going somehow and in some way.
Absolutely. And just before we break for a commercial break, just wanted to say that one of the gentlemen that left the message on WhatsApp did inquire as to whether there are some countries without national television. We have ascertained that there are still some countries without national television. They are quite small as well.
Support our port, support our tourism.
The cruise berthing facility will not have any upland development, which means cruise lines will not own or operate any retail or commercial space within the cruise terminal. This is a win for Cayman.
Looking forward, looking bright. Support our port, support our tourism.
Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for the 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio, featuring Will Sinatra. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, and soca, and an entertainment trivia section.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Merengue Town.
Time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman,
the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Land. Welcome back to Talk Today. We are enjoying our open line conversation about various matters of national importance, and indeed anything that's on your mind that you wish to bring up and to discuss publicly. We'd more than welcome your call and participation. Just by way of reminder, the numbers are 949-8037. Also toll-free courtesy of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. And you can also send us a WhatsApp on 925-3261 and email us on talktoday@candw.ky. So when we broke, we were on the topic, of course, of the unfortunate news of Cayman 27 closing its doors effectively. And we, at this stage, nobody really knows what the solution will be. There's much speculation, but I suppose we, in many respects, we just have to wait and see what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we had a WhatsApp message. Maybe we can look at that.
Oh, sorry, pardon.
No worries. Let's see. So this is in relation to Cayman 27. For 27 years, Cayman 27 has been in the red. Cable always subsidized broadcast. At one point, there were 20,000 households who subscribed to cable. Now it's down to 14,000 in 2012. I'm sure it's even less now. She mentioned C3 as well. News can be done in a much smaller scale. I just think it was a headache as much as a cash cow. So, that's a point, too. I mean, I think that has to do with your social media point, because when there wasn't social media, you could have 20,000 households subscribing to cable. Of course, then obviously with Dish and other sorts of mediums to be able to attain content, you don't need a cable system anymore. And if you don't need that and you don't pay that, then there you go. Your Cayman 27 is not being subsidized. So, it's just a complex issue. Lots of things affecting video production.
Of course, and lots of different positions and ideas about it, as well as how to take it forward, if indeed it is to move forward. There was, I understand, a statement made by the Premier in relation to the closure of Cayman 27, and we're going to, if time allows, certainly highlight the salient points of that, if not repeat what it contains.
Cool.
However, we have a caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to Talk Today.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
Millions of dollars down the road, and finally we got something from off-reg, which is destruction of the little local news. So far we have got millions of dollars invested in off-reg, and all they can produce is getting rid of Cayman 27. That's all can be produced.
Mm-hmm.
What a shame. What a shame. I mean, Cayman 27 was the only, form of news, and, the old people, especially the old people, not so much the younger ones, but the old people,
Mm-hmm.
middle-aged to old people, relied on that, look forward to it. I myself look forward to Cayman 27, right? And the service, the way in which they did their newscast, the whole 1 hour was really, really enlightening. And it is never too late. It's never too late, and the government should seek to sit with the owner of this entity and try to come up with some way of if it's because of these fees, then waive fees for many people. Jesus, they gave our neighboring islands 500,000. Why we can't deal with something that is there's a better it's really to the betterment of the Cayman Islands. So how something like Cayman 27 now what is going to replace that? Don't come and tell me no junk about the government channel going to replace it. You go on that and without delay sitting the everything is a repeat. So that don't have a chance of replacing that,
Of course, sir. That presumes that they don't change their programming at all. I'm not suggesting for one moment that would be the course of action. It's not for me to decide, but I was simply saying that it may be one way, if they were to change their programming, one way of sort of filling some of the gap at least. That was the only thing behind that idea.
But the thing about it is that, I mean, for example, we have the school graduations and stuff like that. CITN is out there. There's a lot of senior citizens who can't get out physically. Forget about having a ride, but physically they can't get out to these graduations, etc. And then their grandchildren is graduating, so they get that little 5 minutes of spotlight, of their grand ones or children, whatever. Who's going to do that? Because there's no other station in Cayman that has the capability, or at this particular time, of doing that. So why not work with Randy Marin and get something sorted out so that we can get this program back up and running, or so that we don't have to close it down, so that they don't have to close it down.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here. I mean, I think it's worth probably noting that the off-reg fee that the invoice that they sent to Hurley's, I don't really think that is a high fee in terms of the overall expenses to make the channel run. I think that was just really the straw that broke the camel's back, to after all these years saying to Off-Reg, look, we can't do this, we can't make this work. For them to still at the end of the day send invoice over to Cayman 27, it's like, all right, you obviously don't care, so we have to shut down now. So I don't think it's as simple as saying that if Off-Reg waives the fee, then Cayman 27 can keep going. It's more complex than that. I just wonder where we'll go. I agree. I don't think Off-Reg helped, and they haven't really been enforcing. But I don't think really the blame is entirely on them either.
Yeah.
I
mean, to your point, but sorry for the interruption. But to your point, I mean, as you alluded to before, they were not profitable prior to even Off-Reg's existence.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not something which is. I'm not trying to remove any blame from anybody or place any blame on anybody. But the fact is that profitability is the underlying factor here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the issue. I mean, video production, it takes a ton of work, and it's hard to justify all the expense to produce a daily show every day. That's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of people required. It's a lot of equipment, a lot of assets required, insurance. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of cost.
Caller, did you have anything else that you would like to add to your commentary, sir? Oh, it seems we've lost that caller. Just take the opportunity to read the highlights or the highlighted part of the Premier's statement, which I have to hand. Whilst we have no callers, the Premier made a statement to the following effect. He says, the government is very concerned about the loss of Caymanian jobs as a result of the closure of Cayman 27, and will make available all of government's resources to assist with finding them alternative employment. The decision to close the station was one made by the owner on the basis that it was not commercially viable. As far as the regulatory breaches are concerned, questions in this regard should be put to the regulator, Off-Reg. The government believes that a television station that produces and broadcasts local programs and news is a critical piece of Cayman's information infrastructure, and will immediately begin exploration as to how the void created by the closure of Cayman 27 can quickly be filled.
Well, there you go. I mean, everyone recognizes it's an issue, and now it's the thing though. It's like, all right, now we're going to start thinking about it.
Yes.
When Carlos has been telling us this for 2 years, so okay, now it's an issue because now they're coming off. It's like, people don't see the writing on the wall. If you don't hear, you'll feel. So, yes. And I feel that that's kind of what this is. I would just suggest that the conversation include the larger video producers in Cayman, not the larger, the larger picture of the other video production producers on island. It's not just Cayman 27. There's Cayman Life TV. This is Cayman. There's Ponciana has a channel with the local contents on Channel 1 and Logic. And then there's the individual companies that produce. I would like to think that their voice is also heard and that they're considered whenever we, formulate a plan for what the future of local content is here in Cayman.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know much better than I do, but that it is a costly exercise, of course. And I'd like to, given what you just said regarding the fact that we tend to respond rather than act in preparation for, that is historically one of the issues that we face in Cayman, that we need to somehow come to grips with better planning and putting into place the necessary provisions in case these types of things happen, and inevitably they will. With that said, I think it's time for a commercial break, so we'll be right back.
Work will soon launch Jobs Cayman, an online system that allows registered users to access job postings created by registered employers. This system offers a better approach to facilitate Caymanians in finding employment and allows employers to search for qualified and skilled Caymanians who are seeking employment. For more information on the registration process and what you need to register, visit www.worc.ky. Work, leading the pursuit of full Caymanian employment and economic prosperity for all through service excellence.
Country classics.
Well, I was born to coal miner's daughter.
On the road again. They're gonna put me in the movies.
Papa Top again.
Out in the West Texas town of El Paso.
Because you're mine, I walk the line.
Well, I love country
classics.
Young love, first love.
You never count your money when you're sitting at the table.
If you enjoy classic country music, come hang out with Radio Cayman this Saturday, 3:30 to 6 p.m.
In the Mississippi cotton picking Delta town.
This Saturday afternoon, following American Country Countdown, 3:30 to 6 on Radio Cayman.
Just walk on by. Wait on the corner. Country
classics.
Headlines. With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news.
Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Certainly a pleasure to be with you here in the beautiful Cayman Islands, all three of our beautiful Cayman Islands, and to our wider listening audience, of course. We are in open line, and we do welcome your participation in this process, bringing forward and to the public eye and ear anything that may be of concern to you. We have sought as best as possible to touch on all topics that have been brought to our attention as matters of current concern. And in that vein, whilst we don't have any callers right now, and I'm sure that you're all scrambling to get to the phone, but whilst you're doing that, if we could just take the opportunity to touch on some of those topics that have come up earlier in the week as we fill in for Sterling Dween. One of the things, of course, I had mentioned briefly that just overnight there had been some additional developments in relation to the prorogation of the UK Parliament, which, of course, we take our cues from, given that we follow the Westminster style of government. And, I was very surprised to learn that this is actually unprecedented prorogation, that is to say, dismissal or suspension of the entire 650-member Parliament of the UK. And effectively, Her Majesty the Queen's assent to the prorogation request means that for 5 weeks Parliament will not meet. Now, in fairness, 3 of those weeks were scheduled for time off in any case. But nevertheless, it is apparently the longest period of time that the British Parliament has been suspended since 1944 during the Second World War, which of course would have its clear reasons why they would have had suspensions at that time. And in essence, it sounds and looks, and by all accounts is, an effort by the current Prime Minister to ensure that his particular position vis-a-vis the negotiations with the EU on Brexit actually goes through without any further interruptions, so to speak, from those who oppose his ideas on the matter.
And is it illegal, what he's doing?
Well, if it were illegal, then I don't think they would have received the assent of Her Majesty the Queen. So it is legal, but it's unprecedented, and in a system which relies so heavily on precedent, 1,000 years of precedent, where precedent is the most, perhaps the most significant aspect of governance. It is highly unusual, highly strange to take such a move, and I don't think that anybody anticipated that this particular approach would be taken. In fact, there's much talk now of reintroducing the possibility of a no confidence vote in his prime ministership. So it's all quite messy by the sounds of it, and of course it will have direct implications for us and indirect implications for us. With that said, we have a call on the line. Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Today.
Caller, go ahead.
I'm sorry, we've lost that caller. Caller, if you wish to try back, please by all means do. The numbers, just by way of reminder, 9498037. Also toll free, courtesy Flow, 1-800-534-8255. Again, nobody's idea is or thoughts are too small or too big. We are certainly happy to discuss with you whatever's on your mind, whatever concerns you may have. So
is this a concern for you? What's happening over in England, shutting down Parliament for Brexit?
Well,
reportedly,
I think it has the potential to set a dangerous precedent, because on what other occasions will this occur, and for what other reasons will this occur? And especially if it is the case that, irrespective of how exactly it comes about, given the referendum's result that's pushed the UK towards exiting the EU, the fact of the matter is that now being effectively out on its own, so to speak, once again, as opposed to being part of the supranational grouping, which was the EU, it could more directly affect us. If you follow where I'm coming from, they're not any longer taking any instructions from the EU. But we do have a caller on the line. Welcome back, caller. You're on Talk Today.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Schmidt. I'm the other gentleman there. I'm sorry I didn't get your name.
No worries.
Really heard a little bit of your
So what we've got to realize, is that England is in a very difficult situation again. And it's good that you spoke about the Second World War with Prime Minister Churchill and so forth. It's important that we realize that the greatest war of all time was started by those same European Union countries. Just a few of them were involved, and England had to get invade, and then the United States had to come in, as we all know, to virtually save the free world.
And let's thank Russia too.
And Russia was saved by the United States, bolstering them with tremendous amounts of money and weapons, or they would not have been able to have survived. And we know China its existence, virtually the United States and England, and a lesser extent on Australia towards Canada. It's important that our young people read about the Second World War and understand what took place. The famous meeting there was, I think it was in March of 1940 with Mr. Churchill and, was it Vauxhall and I can't remember his name, and the former Prime Minister Chamberlain and one of the others also, and two other gentlemen there. That meeting virtually in March of 1940 decided things. And you had to have a very, very strong person coming out of the meeting, is what they said, at the helm, which we seem to have now with Mr. Johnson, and bonding with the President of the United States. And that's what took place at that time also with Mr. Churchill and Mr. Roosevelt. Their friendship, their close friendship, virtually saved the free world. The friendship between those two men. It's important that we understand that what's behind all this, the politics of it, and realizing England never should have been, in my opinion, because you gentlemen are young, never should have been in the European Union to begin with. They always had a good relationship with Germany. So I'm with France, and we realized what France had happened to France at the Second World War, the appeasement thing that they signed and they, with the Germans, and with that virtually gave France totally controlled by Germany at the time. And more Frenchmen ended up fighting against France than for France. And that's a fact. You don't have to believe me.
So,
and
sir,
then, yes, we have to understand what's all behind this. And the Prime Minister has seen maybe this is the only way to do things, to get his vision across of how you're going to move out and become back again in a close trade deal with the United States and a closer bind, because the U.S., as we know, is providing most of the protection for all those European Union countries with huge U.S. presence, anti-missile defense and so forth. And then in Canada, the same thing also. So with them, it's a cloud of defense systems set up by the U.S. there, and troops and readiness and so forth over there. So it's important that England and the United States form this alliance again, because we see what's happening with giving in to like Iran and all the terrorists and conceding things to them and letting them more or less set terms and things, which is dangerous for in my opinion, for the European Union and for the, France and Germany and the rest of Europe to just concede things to Iran. And maybe with Mr. Johnson there, it will form some kind of a resistance to this type of appeasement attitude, because it's not good. It's not good.
Sir,
I think that this is a good thing. If you suspend Parliament for a while and let them think and debate as they can after that, and see what Mr. Johnson has to put forward. So,
sir, I'd like to thank you very much for that. One quick point is for your contemplation, perhaps, because I know we have to go to the news very shortly. However, the danger that I see in what you said, I see the logic in it, but I also see the danger insofar as you have at least or approximately half of the entire population, or certainly half of their representatives against this particular move, and it seems very, very unusual. But with that said, I'm afraid we have to go to the news. Thank you very much for your thoughts, sir.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The premier says that the government is, quote, very concerned about the loss of Caymanian jobs with the closure of the TV station Cayman 27. Government believes that a TV station that produces and broadcasts local programs is, quote, a critical piece of Cayman's information infrastructure. And he says government will be exploring ways to fill the void created. Next week could be MP's, quote, only opportunity to challenge a no-deal Brexit, according to ex-minister David Gauck. This follows the Prime Minister's decision to suspend Parliament in September and October. The move sparked criticism from those who argue Boris Johnson is trying to prevent MPs from blocking a no-deal Brexit. And a former commander in the FARC rebel group in Colombia, Ivan Marquez, has called on his followers to take up arms less than 3 years after the rebels signed a peace agreement with the government. Marquez appeared in a video and announced that a, quote, new phase of the armed struggle was beginning. He was one of the main negotiators of the 2016 peace deal. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
To the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talk Today. We're going into our final half an hour now, so we're urging you to give us a call on 949-8037 or toll free on 1-800-534-8255. Let us know what you're thinking about. We were just on the topic, of course, Badir, of prorogation in the UK and how what the ramifications may or may not be for Cayman. Of course, we don't yet know that. They themselves in the UK don't yet know whether it's actually going to occur for the period of time that it has been requested and approved for. But the important thing is that we take our cues, of course, from the UK, and ultimately they are the governing body or entity in terms of who has the ultimate say in what happens in its overseas territories. But that said, it draws us back somewhat substantially to the discussions that we were having thus far this week regarding the referendum and the exercise by people of the provisions of the 2009 Constitution or current Constitution. The fact that we look like we're very near to actually having the number of signatures necessary to actually get the referendum called, subject to whatever additional steps have to be taken prior to that happening. So there were a few questions that came up that were directly related to that, such as one raised by a caller yesterday concerning whether or not we should be considering introducing some additional factors into our constitution, such as a recall of parliamentarians who misbehave, so to speak. And I was just looking at how in 2015, which is obviously very, very recently, the UK Parliament actually introduced such a system by way of passage of a law in the House of Commons and subsequently the House of Lords, of course, to recall or to allow for a people's recall of people's initiated recall of a parliamentarian who has misbehaved, and there are various definitions of misbehavior set out there. That move can also, I understand, be taken by members of parliament as well. So it's a fairly wide spectrum from which that accusation can be leveled and such a recall made.
So you're saying that if people in England are generally unhappy with what Boris has done by closing Parliament right now to try to encourage Brexit, there's still the ability for them to vote him out in some sort of vote of no confidence.
That would certainly seem to be the case. Now, I wouldn't claim to have tremendous knowledge on that particular law. The more immediate, the more immediate option would seem to be a call of a vote of no confidence. Of course, with Boris being the leader of the Conservative Party and it having a substantial majority of the 650 elected members of the British Parliament, it would seem to be rather difficult for them to be able to those who are in opposition to oppose successfully by way of a no confidence vote, because obviously a government controls the majority. But if so many of his supporters within his own party are against this particular move, it is conceivable that he could be removed by way of a no confidence vote and have the shortest prime ministership perhaps ever. Not suggesting that's going to happen, but it is a possibility.
So all things considered, he's not doing anything illegal. He's doing something perhaps not traditional. I think, as our last caller was saying, sometimes important matters need to be tackled non-traditionally.
Right.
And this caller seemed to think that this was one of the issues. And it seems like the UK Constitution has enough in place to, if the electorate really think that this guy Boris isn't doing a great job, they can vote him out. So all things considered, it's not too scary over there in England right now. It doesn't sound like it on paper.
There are always checks and balances, right? And especially in what is perhaps one of the world's oldest functional democracies. And of course, we had that whole discussion yesterday about democracy and the various forms thereof, and participatory democracy and so on. We have traditionally, especially being a British territory, overseas territory, have had less control over some of the things that we may have otherwise liked to gain control over. But of course, that has progressed in and of itself with successive constitutions, as we were also discussing earlier in the week. And so I think that analogy is useful from the perspective that, yes, there's always that option in a democracy to introduce something which people will jump up and down about and get very excited about. Some happy, some not so happy, if they find it to be out of the norm. But in terms of its illegality, no, it's not illegal. And is it worthwhile to consider new options at all times? Because we're constantly being faced with new challenges in life generally, but and more specifically in the management of countries. So I don't know where it's going to go. Obviously, none of us do, but certainly it gives way to the fact that there are a great deal of possibilities and a great deal of flexibility in our system.
Yeah, and how much do people care? Because Cayman 27. Okay, yeah. How much do people care? Are we going to sign petitions? Are we going to trigger another referendum for Cayman 27? And Boris himself doing what he's doing, closing Parliament? Or is the people going to rise up and trigger a referendum, like the port issue? Like, that's a big issue, right? Because people cared,
right?
So it's one of those things where, how much do the people really care about this specific issue? And
how clear it is as well. Well, can you take a definitive side one way or the other? Because sometimes these issues are so skewed that it's very hard to take a particular position, and one is reluctant to take a position unless you really feel confident in your knowledge of the matter.
Yeah, I think people make decisions even without a lot of information. They go in their gut sometimes. Like,
right.
I don't feel right about this,
right.
Right. But yeah, obviously more information, the better. You want to get to the heart of the matter. And yeah.
So, in terms of our own position vis-a-vis the EU, that the information we were discussing yesterday, that of course has not yet changed because we don't yet know what will be the outcome of this. One of the things that came out of the last caller's contribution, however, as well, and of course he has a great deal of knowledge and some always interesting contributions to make, but the thing I was wondering about is it definitive that Mr. Johnson is enjoying the full support of President Trump? I mean, do we know for a fact that the strength of that union, so to speak, of minds and of economies and so on is actually in place, and that whatever business is lost by way of the restrictions being placed, that will inevitably be placed by the EU, and vice versa, by Britain on the EU, will that be overcome by Britain's relationship with the United States? I'm not so sure that's clear.
I don't think that's clear either. We know they look alike. they're cut from the same cloth, right? But how much?
Let's hope they're not related.
How much their principles are aligned? I think that does remain to be seen. I saw, I think, on Facebook something yesterday where Boris seemed to contradict Trump at the table. I didn't quite get the full details of that. So it is interesting to see how those two alphas, if you will, will play out as they interact with each other.
Yeah, and of course, just before Boris was elected, and whilst Theresa May was still the Prime Minister, there was that fiasco, shall we say, of information that had come forth about some private communications that had been revealed, that was emanating from the British Embassy, I believe, in Washington, having made certain, let's say, unpleasant comments about President Trump.
What were those? I don't know those.
Well, basically that he was saying making politically incorrect statements, and he shouldn't try to run a country by Twitter and things of that effect. That the UK government didn't apologize for. In fact, they said, to my recollection, that they expect their representatives around the world to report fairly back to the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office what is actually transpiring and their particular experienced opinions on those matters. And so if that's a fair representation of what they thought, then fair enough. But at the same time, they weren't condoning speaking inappropriately about any world leader. So I think that the British response was quite well balanced, in my own opinion, as it typically is. So I don't know that it necessarily increases the confidence, though, about the relationship between the two countries.
Yeah.
And of course, Trump seems to be very much focused on whatever he feels is best for the United States, irrespective of what other countries are involved in a particular issue at heart. I mean, recently he made a statement about not attending, I think it was the G7 summit, which, is, again, unheard of. You don't have the leader of the world's largest economy not attending the G7, the annual G7 economic summit. So there are a lot of considerations there that do affect us, whether we think very much about it or not, because obviously we're a small portion of the overall picture, and we depend very much directly and indirectly on what's happening in the mother country, as well as the United States, our largest neighbor to the north.
Yeah, I think Trump gets a lot of support because of his non-traditional ways.
Yes,
I'm not going to go to the G7. I'm going to say what I want. I'm going to talk foolishness.
I'm going to withdraw from the treaty.
People like that for some reason. People find that refreshing. Despite what you might say about Trump, it's no one's telling him what to do.
Right.
And you can't really say that about a lot of leaders sometimes because you're not sure which way they're going. And so it's just an interesting phenomenon, the Trump phenomenon, how that played out, how he took such a risk to act like an immature person, I guess, but to still see that would be enough and that people would look past that and still trust him to do what he needs to do. And yeah, I mean, I think his focus is on the American people, you know, while ignoring the rest of the world, so to speak. But it is just very interesting how people seem to want something different.
Of course, you know, across the board, globally, there's been a trend, as we know, to go with more nationalist thinking groupings and parties and so on, and we've seen by and large that the nationalists, the conservatives, are being elected in elections around the world.
That's true.
That having been said, I think it's time that we need to go to a commercial break. We'll be back with you shortly.
Parents, do you know what time it is? It's the most wonderful time of the year. But it's not Christmas time. But school is nearly back in session. Is your child ready for the school year? Stop by Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village and pick up all of your child's stationery supplies. With 30% off selected items, you won't need to break the bank to get your little one prepared for the school year. You have enough to worry about. Make back to school a breeze with Savannah Pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, or call 946-3336.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Pure and cleaner.
Now reintroducing eco-friendly green Garmento fabric bags, which can be used as your clothes cover, traveling bag, etc. Also, get your fabric shirt boxes that can hold up to 10 folded shirts. And for those other shirts, put them on hangers with an eco-friendly poly cover. All bags are biodegradable. Puritan Cleaners. 3 convenient locations to serve you. Countryside, Savannah, 946-1884. Elgin Avenue, beside Off the Peg, 949-2452. 337 Eastern Avenue. Drive-through, rain or shine. 949-7104. Free pickup and delivery. Ask for ongoing discounts. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
Support our port. Support our tourism.
So what are you saying, Brownie? You looking concerned about something?
It's okay. I hear some people talking about the new cruise burden thing that can cause a lot of harm in Georgetown and Hogstye Bay and even to 7 Mile Beach. They're saying it should be built some other part of this island. Now, what you think about that?
Well, my darling child, our old-time captains had good sense, you know. They know why they chose Hogstye Bay for the harbor. So why go someplace else now?
That's kind of true, you know. But what about the dredging?
Don't you worry, there'll be no dredging in Hogstye Bay. Them piers are going way out in deep water and they're being built on pilings, so all the water and all them pretty fish will still be flowing back and forth.
It's okay. I'm feeling real good about this cruise burden thing now. This is a win for Cayman.
Sure is, Brownie. That's why Asuki supports the port and supports tourism.
Support our port. Support our tourism.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen in Radio Land. Welcome back to Talk Today. You're here with Mr. Badir Awe, and my name is Patrick Schmidt. We're filling in for Sterling Dween. We only have 2 days left, so take advantage of this time now and call in and let us know what your thoughts are, because we're here to listen to you and to share your thoughts and opinions. Badir? Any particular things you want to
Man, there's
discuss?
a million things to talk about, you know. Where do we want to go? Like, you know, we got a recommendation to talk about Pirates Week.
Yeah.
What's up with Pirates Week this year?
Well, one thing is for certain, irrespective of how many things are planned for Pirates Week and how long it's going to be, whether it's 3 days or a full week, and so on and so forth. The fact is that I don't think we'll ever escape that question of, is Pirates Week just a tourist gaining gimmick at a slow time of the year that we've held to as a tradition for a substantial number of years? Or does it have more significance? Is it truly representative of our heritage? Is that a fair statement? I don't think that it would be. We know that historically most Caymanians do not descend from pirates. So,
I guess it begs the question: what's a pirate? Because we are part of the Caribbean, and the golden age of piracy in the 17th century took place in the Caribbean and 18th century, and we look at pirates as if they set out to be pirates. Like, I'm a pirate. No, they were British sailors, Dutch sailors, Spanish sailors, buccaneers, who, through certain course of events, took advantage of, their power over in the Caribbean, and, did what they needed to do in various circumstances. And in some cases, they lost their jobs. England cut them, and they're over here in the Caribbean with nothing to do. Well, they got to try and survive. "Quote unquote," they become pirates. So yeah, it is a part of our history,
right? That's
for sure,
right?
We're the pirates roam to the Caribbean. So,
and
I don't think we can dismiss it that easily. I don't think we should.
Yeah, I mean, it's a known fact that when one does a lot of research, for example, in the archives, and we don't have to look so far, thanks to the work of a number of tremendous scholars such as Mr. Roy Bawden, who has written substantially about this, and others that have enlightened us about the fact that Cayman was the Cayman Islands, all three Cayman Islands were convenient stopover points for them to replenish their water, their food, things like this. So rather than being a base for pirates per se, it certainly was a place where pirates
came hang out. Came on vacation. We don't find that treasure yet, the pirate treasure yet. Oh, there must be some around here, man. All them ships sink in throughout the course of those centuries.
I think that there's been a substantial amount of searching for treasure. I certainly haven't found any yet. Have you? I believe we have a call on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Welcome to Talk Today.
Thank you for taking my call. Good afternoon, Patrick. Good afternoon, Badir.
What's up, man?
Good afternoon, sir.
Quincy here. Badir, I want to congratulate you on all you've done with Ponciana TV, Ponciana Festival.
Thank you.
And, the other day you alluded to the fact that here in Cayman we have 7 Mile Beach and we have a lot of cash. Sometimes I wonder just how much cash we really have. It's a sad day for us as Caymanians. It's a sad day for us because Cayman 27 is shutting down, as you are aware.
Yes.
Now is the time we humbly approach the businessman, that is Mr. Kenneth Dart, and say, help. We need your help. I mean, how serious are we as Caymanians, or do we only talk behind closed doors? Do we want to keep our TV station, or do we want to see it close? It's enough of us as business people, stakeholders, to pay the debts and keep it running. I mean, how serious are we? Because when we think about our national airline, our national radio station, and our national TV station, they wheeze, it's a part of our culture, it's a part of who we is, and to see them go would not be a good thing, even though there are replacements. There are replacements. If Cayman Airways is to close, which it isn't, it is not, but if Cayman Airways were to close, Caribbean Airlines would replace it. If Radio Cayman was to close, which it's not, it would be replaced by RJR, and Cayman 27 could very easily be replaced by TVJ, Television Jamaica. But is this what we want? We remember the days, Cayman 27, with you every day, the days of Donna Bush, who was the leading anchor there, April Cummings. We remember Mike Martin. I worked there for a brief time, too, and Cayman 27 finally came to its senses when it realized we don't need anchors from North America or New Zealand. We can train our own. And for the past few years, that's exactly what Cayman 27 has been doing, training young Caymanians. It breaks our heart today to hear that tomorrow will be the final broadcast, but does it have to be? That's the question I ask. Does it have to be? Come on, man. Let's call on our stakeholders. Are there not enough wealthy Caymanian families to keep our TV station going? Mr. Badir, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I do have a solution. Let us take ownership of it. Where's the national pride? Why aren't we with our placards and, getting out and peacefully demonstrating? That's one thing. But the fact is we need money. We need to access some of this cash now that we have. I know there got to be 5 magnets in this country that can keep Cayman 27 on air. Look at the jobs now that's going to be made redundant or just, it's a sad day, and how important is it? That's the question. That's the fundamental question we have to ask ourselves. How important is keeping Cayman 27? If it's not, oh well, then let it go. We have HBO, we have Disney, but what about local content? Where is the national pride? And I keep repeating myself. Is it ours? Do we own it as a people of the Cayman Islands? Then we have to keep it. Or otherwise, tomorrow evening is the last broadcast, which would be very, very sad. I think we need to approach Mr. Kenneth Dart and strike a deal with him. We must approach him. A lot of times he might approach us with other projects. As Caymanians now, we swallow our pride and we go with our long alligator tears. Mr. Dart, we need help. Please help us save Cayman 27. That's my contribution. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Quincy. One of the things, we have one more caller, but one of the things to quickly to say is just that, with Cayman Airways, with Radio Cayman, these were entities that were always part of our government, so to speak, and whereas if we are going to take ownership, that implies that it'll be the government and not any one investor that would be taking over. I would have thought. Anyway, I don't want to take any time from the final caller, as we only have a few minutes. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Nice hearing your young people voices on there. Good job you've been doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
While I fully agree with my friend Quincy that something needs to be done, I think that the diagnosis of the problem is not to run to Mr. Dart for financial assistance, but rather to do as Miss Juliana was finding out this morning when she called into the show, is to try and find out the reasons why. And as Mr. Arden McLean, you might want to invite him on your show tomorrow to read the onerous conditions, the unfair, the inequity, which goes against Section 16 of our Constitution, where people need to be treated equally. The other stations do not have the burden on them that Cayman 27 has. And as Miss Juliana is a member of the PPM, and so am I. And she expressed a disappointment, and she's a member of cabinet as to what was happening. And I also expressed disappointment with the PPM party, of which I'm a member, that they would be doing things like this to stifle freedom of the press, freedom of discussion, freedom of information, freedom of the exchange of ideas. And that is really what the issue is. Because the other stations are getting away with murder because of connections or whatever reasons, and the off-reg people are not treating Cayman 27 fairly. All we need in this island for most Caymanians to survive is fairness. But when you have a government that subsidizes an imported competition, subsidizes to the hilt billionaires in this country, that's what makes people have to compete on an unequal footing to stay in business today. Every subsidy destroys our tax base, destroys our economy more and more. They don't pay income tax. That's a break for Cayman. Stop subsidizing all these people and are harming Caymanians over and over because we have an unequal government that's not interested in the masses. God bless you all.
You too.
I get home safe tonight.
Thank you.
That's the issue.
Thank you, sir. One thing I would add is that the issue of subsidies has come up regularly every day, if I'm not mistaken, Badir. And clearly, there's a call from the general public that for all organizations that are responsible for the granting of subsidies to be as fair as possible in so doing, and perhaps to even consider decreasing subsidies, and perhaps spreading the wealth around more, so to speak. So I'd like to thank that caller for his contribution, and I think that we're drawing very near to the end here. We don't have any more callers on the line, but I'll take the opportunity to once again thank the listening audience for putting up with us. And tomorrow we will have open line for most of the day, but we also have some very exciting launching of a new
song.
Yeah, I wanted you to describe that actually because I didn't want to say anything, give away any secrets.
Oh, well, tomorrow we'll have Lonnie Love, a local musician, and he is going to be releasing a new song. I'm hoping we can play that. And we look forward to just hearing what the musicians are up to in Cayman, because it's been pretty exciting over the last year in music in Cayman. So we look forward to that.
Absolutely.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.